Good evening. Good evening. I want to welcome you guys to Miracles on Earth, where there is a miracle in every moment. I'm so excited for our guest on tonight, and I look forward to seeing what the Lord is going to do on this episode of Miracles on Earth. I'm your host, Miracle Shamira, and we have a phenomenal guest tonight. Our guest joining us is Dr. Kim Germany. She is a phenomenal and passionate advocate for education and parental education. Dr. Germany is dedicated to empowering individuals to navigate life's challenges with resilience and purpose. She is the author of AchieveNow, where she shares her wealth of experience and practical strategies to empower new leaders in education, equipping them with tools and knowledge to drive significant improvements in student outcomes. With her expertise in personal development, she offers transformative insights on handling trauma, embracing change, and unlocking your fullest potential. Get ready to be inspired by Dr. Kim Germany as she gives wisdom for transformation. Thank you so much, Dr. Germany, for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. I am so honored to have you, and I look forward to diving deeper into your book, Achieve Now. What a great accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Achieve Now 4 strategies to grow your instructional leadership skills and impact student outcomes as a new leader is in the hands of the designer. I just sent over the final edits and revisions. It is my greatest hope to release this book. It has truly been a testimony of faith and resilience. I'm starting my 28th year in education, and I'm so happy. Number one, I never wanted to be in education. Being the daughter of two late educators, both my parents were in education all of their careers. I have been running up and down hallways all my life in schools, and I have been grading papers and filling out roll books and all of those things. And I'm like, no, I never want to be an educator. I am what you call a non-traditional educator. My bachelor's degree is not in education. My bachelor's degree is in business
Wow.
administration with a major in marketing. So I was just determined I'm not going to be an educator. No, that is not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do that. But guess what? This is where I am. It wasn't just about a job for me. It was about a calling and a passion. And you hear people say that all the time, but it indeed was a call for me because I ran from it. I avoided it. I'm like, absolutely not. Do I want to do that? In fact, when I graduated from Alabama, the University of Alabama, with my undergraduate degree, my father told me, he said, hey, I'll pay for you to get your master's. You should just go ahead and get your master's in education. You will always have a job. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. But indeed, I did do that. I started my career doing Title I, being a tutor in an elementary school. And I did that for 2 years while I was getting my license to become a certified teacher. And I was able to work my way up the chains. I have been a classroom teacher for 9 years. I served as a principal, an assistant principal, a director, a coordinator, executive director, number 2 in command in a district. And I have worked in Tennessee. I have worked in Louisiana. I have worked in Mississippi. And now we are back in Tennessee. So I would like to say that things have come full circle. So writing the book was just I love professional development. I love teaching and learning. I absolutely love it. And instruction is just my jam. Anything about raising student achievement, making learning come to life, coming up with innovative practices, that is just my get down. And it's just a natural gift for me. And along my journey and all of my positions in various states, people still call me saying, hey, let's help me think this through. What are your thoughts about this? And I got so many requests for things, and they were all very similar. They were all centered around instructional leadership. how to move the needle for kids, how to increase scores, how to come off of a list, how to go from being an F to an A. So I said, it's something here, let me package this and let me put it so you don't have to call me with that. Not that I consider myself an expert, but I do have results to prove that the things that I have implemented across my journey have really allowed me to be successful. In the book, I have a 4-part framework for instructional leadership for new leaders. And the first thing is leading emotions, learning how to take command of how we say, how we say it, being very self-aware, putting those things in place, because if you cannot lead your emotions first, how can you even lead people? And that is still a journey. That is not something that you just, I've conquered this. This is something that is continuous along the journey. The second part of the framework is indeed instructional leadership. What are those instructional strategies that will get the biggest bang for your buck? How do we use data to drive school improvement? The principal going in to provide feedback to teachers. How do we put that into action? So that's part 2. Part 3 is change. Being a change agent. How do you garner support? How do you get buy-in? How do you even tackle changes? And how do you determine what needs to be changed? What's going to give you your greatest impact, and how to lead those change initiatives? Because change is hard. None of us like to do a lot of change, but however, change is always needed. And the last part of the framework is leading sustainability, putting those systems and processes in place so we can sustain our results. So I'm so proud of this work. It has definitely been a labor of love, intensive love, I might add, but I'm so excited about it. And I just know that it is going to make a difference in the lives of new leaders.
Wow, I'm not even an educator, and just everything you described in the book makes me feel like I need to read it. So do you feel like your book appeals to even those that aren't in the school system?
I would say yes. And let me tell you why. Because when you think about leading emotions and leading change, how do you determine how to use data to make improvement and results? I think that is applicable across all our industries. I think that any person can pick up the book, and starting out, chapter 1 talks about leaving a legacy. And I even explain how when you're walking into something new for the very first time, why you need to think about how you want to be perceived and those seeds of legacy that you want to leave. So when you're gone, we're all excited about new opportunities, but when we get in those opportunities, how do you know when it's time to leave? What is the writing that's on the wall? And sometimes, you're having to leave positions that you don't want to leave. With my husband coaching college ball and high school ball, I've had to leave a lot of positions that it was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to do this. I'm happy. I'm satisfied where I am. So I know what it means to have to implement change. I know what it means to have to lead and have strong foundations with that emotional leadership. And some of the stories and the practices that are in this book, these are tried and true. I've learned these things by bruises, by sprains, and all kind of scrapes. So I package this very nicely for new leaders. New leaders will be 0 to 3 years of experience that's really trying to make a difference for kids. And I like to say that this is what they don't teach you in college. This is that, okay, we didn't put this in this class, but this is what's really is going to happen, and it's what it's going to be like. In fact, Miracle, that's my first book. I already have a framework for book 2. And book 2 is going to really tackle parental engagement. It's really going to tackle being a responsive leader and really meeting not just the academic needs of children, but the emotional needs of children, addressing the whole child component. So I am so happy about the framework that was dropped in my spirit for book number 2 that will be really shaping what does it look like from the lens of a parent and the lens of a principal. In fact, it's going to be called the PPP, the Principal Parent Partnership. That's going to be the framework for book number 2. So I'm planning to launch book number 1, get book number 1 going, to build some consensus, to do some webinars and do some professional development. And when the time is right, is when we will finish book number 2.
Wow, wow, that is a mouthful. And, one of the things that I was most intrigued by was parental engagement, more so because I think about my childhood and how I was brought up. My mom was very busy, my grandmother, she raised me, and she was very busy. But there were some traumatic things that was going on outside of school, which made me really just not focus in at school like I needed to. So, what are some keys that you can give parents to help better set their students up for success?
I'm a child of trauma. I recently posted on Facebook, and that's so out of the norm for me to post things, personal on Facebook, besides sending some pictures of my family. But I am a child of trauma. And back in the day, we didn't call it trauma. Things just happened. This was before life is just lifing. But we know that there will be situations in children's lives that, it's hard, it's crushing. When I was 11 in March, we lost our home to a fire. And, I will never forget it. And that same year in July, my mother died. My mother died from breast cancer. So that was, you talk about trauma up on top of trauma, up on top of trauma. And I can remember being in 7th grade, sitting in class. I'm there physically, but of course, I am not there emotionally. I am completely checked out. And I can remember going home because my mother, as I said, was a teacher. So she used to get home at the same time every day, like clockwork. And I can remember getting off the bus, going to sit on the couch every day by the front door, waiting for her to walk through that door. And I did that. I cannot even tell you how many days I did that, because in my mind, I said, Mama would never leave us. Why are we crying? There's no need to cry, because Mama would never leave us. And I just remember doing that every single day. And I don't know how long I did that, but when you kids come to school with these type of issues all the time, and because of my background, I was able to identify, and I was able to be that non-traditional educator and non-traditional administrator, giving the students what they need. And it can't be a cookie cutter model. It really has to be based upon meeting the needs of the whole child. And now, in the world that we live in now, you really cannot parent the way that you may have grown up. And that's one of the things that I tell parents all the time. Most parents come to school walking through the door of how they were in school. The experiences that they had in school, whether those are positive or negative, those are the experiences that they walk through the school with when they're having to come to handle an issue with their own child. And you cannot parent the way that you may have been parented. I know that we grew up in an environment, you do as I say. You don't ask me any questions. But along the way, I think that we do need to explain. We need to explain things to children. Children come to us with a natural curiosity. If we're telling them what to do, but we don't explain how, then we continue to repeat patterns. And some of the patterns that we grow up repeating are not good patterns. So at some point, we have to stop, take charge, and undo some of the things that we have taught our children, not only our children, but even ourselves. Some of those practices, those habits, those things that we have inherited, those things that have become tradition. But just because it's a tradition does not mean that it's not a stronghold. We just keep repeating the same thing. But why are we doing that? And it's not about new school. This is not a new school. I think that you just have to really sit back and really get to know your children, not as your child, but your child as a person. And they come with their own hopes, dreams, beliefs, and it is our role, in my opinion, to shape those beliefs and to cultivate those beliefs and not impose our wants and will upon our children. I know that when my daughter got ready to go to college, I wanted her to go to a particular college. And I used to talk about that. I used to talk about it all the time. And she was like, I don't want to go to that college. She said, Mama, if you really like that college so much, then why didn't you go to that college? She's like, I don't want to go to that college. And so then I had to step back and like, wait, I don't want to impose my will on her. And you just go into a series of prayers to see, okay, let it open up where it's supposed to be, those type of things. But the parental engagement piece gets to be, we make time for everything that's important. So showing up for your kid at school, that needs to be just as important as well. And I can remember working in rural, urban, suburban, it doesn't even matter. The parental engagement sometimes will start so strong and it will slack off. And I can remember being a principal in Louisiana, and we were a big basketball school. And I'm a football girl, but we were a big basketball school. So that was Tuesday and Friday nights. I'm available. And I can remember having my parent table outside. So when you walk in, I'm talking to you about your child's grades. Before we would go to halftime, I'm making announcements about the things that we have coming up at school, progress reports coming out. I'm doing all of those things. I would have my parent meetings on Tuesdays on a home game, because I know you're going to come to the basketball game. So if you come to my parent meeting, then I'm going to give you so many tickets to the concession stand, because I want you to be involved in your child's life.
Dr. Germany, so do you feel like sometimes people take sports a lot more serious than they take education?
Of course. Yes. I would definitely say that. And I enjoy sports. I love sports. I watch sports more so than my spouse, to be honest with you. I get up on Saturday mornings, get my cup of coffee, and I'm watching College Game Day, and I'm going from game to game to game. I love it. No, I love it. I support it. I believe in it, because I know that for some children, that's their lifeline. Some kids come to school because I want to play football. I want to play volleyball. I want to be on the basketball team. I want to be in the band. I want to be a cheerleader. Some kids come to school for that interaction, and I'm all for that. That's the hook. But when you get to school, that may have been your hook, but I need you to do what I need you to do while you're here. And that's just having those conversations and really getting to know kids. I want to know who you are. I want to know everything about you. I want to build the relationships, because as a principal, when I call a parent, they already know if I'm calling, it's a problem. And whatever you need to do, you have my permission to do so.
Wow. That's good. You sound like the teacher that everyone needs. The teacher that really cares, seriously, because sometimes teachers can be the ones that damage that child, even when they're going through their own home life experiences. I think about a teacher that told me I wasn't smart enough to be a nurse. And even though that was very damaging, it was, for me, I always took negative things and I used them as motivators. I took those things and I said, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. Just because you said this, I'm going to show you that I'm going to do the very opposite of what you said.
I can appreciate it. I like the resilience that you had from that, but it's so unfortunate that we have people standing in front of children that would say those things about them. I just did a session at a school, and we talked about high engagement, high suited engagement, and having high expectations for all children. Because when you think about the power of the word and the words that we speak, and we know that the words that we speak become life. Even if you were like, oh, I really don't believe that I can move all my kids are going to pass this test. I really don't believe that. But if you start speaking, I believe all of my children are going to pass this test. I believe all of my kids are going to show some growth. Once you start speaking it yourself, that speaks life in it, and you keep talking that talk. It's very unfortunate that we have people, education, everybody that works at a school doesn't come with the best feelings about children. Sometimes I work with people sometimes and I'm like, okay, did you realize being a teacher involved children? Did you realize you had to deal with other people? Unfortunately, it is what it is. That's why it's just, the leader. Everything begins and ends with leadership. That's why having good, strong leaders is just so important to the success, not just academically, but to the overall well-being of children, teachers, and parents.
Certainly, certainly. So, what motivated you to even go into the field? I know you stated that you was totally against being an educator. What was your dominant motivation to say, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then now you love it?
I think that I always knew that I wanted to do it,
Hmm.
but it was like, do I really want to do it? Let me try something else first. And
Mm-hmm.
I can remember when I graduated from the University of Alabama, I already had a job even before I graduated. And I was working with a subsidiary of Walmart. So I had a whole network of Walmart stores that I had to go and buy all of their CDs and everything that would be in their music department, all of their videos. So, I'm young. I'm 21 years old, making a lot of money. Like, no, I'm not trying to do anything but this. But
Yeah.
and I had a good job. But you know what? I was empty. I did not
Mhm.
enjoy anything about that job besides getting the check. I didn't enjoy anything else. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so excited when I wake up. I get to go to work today. I didn't have that. It was just I'm working to get the check. And when you're working to get a check, that shows in everything that you do. Even if you're trying not to have it show, it really shows up because you don't have any passion. It lacks passion and it lacks purpose. And when you're not in purpose, you're going to be challenged with being happy and showing up as your full self. So I always knew that deep down I did. I didn't really want to be honest with you. But seemingly, some of the things that we don't want to do are the very things that really shape our lives and become very easy for us to do. Teaching and learning for me, that's something I can do all day long. I can easily do it. It's not, of course, yes, it is a hard job, but the
Right.
work of the job comes so naturally to me. It's not a hang up. It's not something that's hard for me. I can look at a data set and I can say, okay, let's do this, let's do this, let's do that. Okay, you're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. I can come up with a strategy very quickly just by looking at it because I enjoy it. The challenge of showing growth and making sure that kids can be where they need to be, I enjoy that challenge because to me, education is a great equalizer. It is the transform, it is your path out of whatever you are in is the education piece of it. So I think that it was always there. When I moved from Alabama to Nashville, on when I tell you a whim, it was a whim. I
Wow.
came to Nashville. I interviewed on a Tuesday, and my dad was moving me to Nashville on a Friday. That's
Wow.
how quickly that move was. And I ended up working for a healthcare company in the HR department, and I made friends with this a network of people, and they actually went out to lunch this day. We normally would go together, but this particular day I didn't go. I can't remember why I didn't go, but they went and they ate dinner. They ate lunch at the same restaurant with a bunch of principals, and they ended up sitting next to them. And my friends were telling these principals, hey, one of our friends is really thinking about getting into education. And, it would be great if you would talk to her. I ended up getting an interview. I got a job and I have been in education ever since. And this is year 28. So that was a very long, long time ago.
Oh,
So I
wow.
think that it gets to be when purpose and passion collide. I think that gets to be where it gets to be the acceleration. All of the pieces are put in place, and it's almost like it happens so fast, and you're in it, but you're not having to do much in it. You're just in it, and here we are.
Wow, that's amazing. Sounds like you had some friends that would carry you to the roof. Like
They
like
did.
like the layman friends, how they carried him and they came through the roof. It
They
sounds like you
came
had some
through.
friends that spoke up for you.
Yeah, they spoke up for me. They
I
spoke
love it.
up for me.
I love it. I love it. So, wow, I'm really impressed by just your journey so far. I'm sure there's countless ins and outs that we just won't even scratch the surface of. I'm definitely impressed by your journey. So, let me ask you, what is the impact of a parent's role on the child's self-esteem and their success?
It's major because the parent is the child's first teacher.
Mm,
And you're not the child's first academic teacher. You are the child's first teacher in everything.
mm,
So when they come to us in kindergarten or preschool, they're already coming to us full of whatever you've taught them.
mm.
Now that can be good, or that can be bad. So they are learning everything by what you say, by what you don't say, what you do, and they create those patterns and they grow up and replicate those patterns. So it is very huge. I remember when I was a principal and we were getting ready to do testing, and I know I would tell my parents, do not wake children up, fussing, hurrying them, speaking bad language to them, and expect them to come to school and have a good day. Why are we even thinking that's
Right.
going to be good? So you can already see it. When kids are getting out of the car and when kids are getting off the bus, you can already tell that something is going on. You have to spend the time with kids early on. We all work. We all work up, and some parents work several jobs, but it's the quality of the time that you spend with them. It's the quality of the conversations and interacting with them and telling them those, I believe in you. You may not be an A student, but give me your best every day. It's about applying the right amount of pressure. But sometimes we can go overboard. Sometimes it's about all A's. What's
Right.
up? You didn't get all the A's. I got a problem with you. Okay, you're going to be on punishment. And then we create an environment where kids are anxious and they're nervous, and all of the anxiety about school is become so overwhelming. And then we have meltdowns and we have shutdowns. So it gets to be an equal balance. It's little things. You don't have to know English. You don't have to know science, social studies, or any of the academic contents. You don't have to. What you have to know is how to reaffirm your children. I believe in you. I know you can do this. All things are going to work for you. When you go to school today, I know you're going to have a great day. Don't forget, I'm encouraging you right now, waking them up instead of fussing and hurry up and get out of the bed. We're going to be late. Wake them up in a nice, quiet way. Good morning to you. I'm so happy to see you. I remember when my daughter was 3. My daughter was fortunate enough she didn't go to daycare. She ended up going to home daycare when she was in 6 months old. All the
Mm.
way until she turned 3, she went to Miss Bonita's house. That was her. Miss Bonita was like her mom. So when
Oh.
she turned, Miss Bonita decided to go back into the work environment. So we put her in this preschool, and every single day, as we get in the car, we're good. When she sees us turning in, my daughter would just boo-hoo cry, crying, 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 and I made up this song. We would sing this song all the way to daycare. But every time we would turn in, she would start crying because she was so accustomed to going to Miss Bernita's house. So
Mhm.
everybody can have a Miss Bernita, and you can have a Miss Bernita experience when you're in the car, when you're driving to work, or you're picking up your children, driving from home. What are you listening to? That's an ideal time to turn whatever you are accustomed to listening to off and having very simple conversations today. And you want to be specific. How was your day today? You want to be more specific. What did you do today in your English class? I know that you were telling me last week that was a problem with Miracle in math. How is that working out? Did you get a chance to submit that late assignment? Being very specific and generic being not generic, very specific, asking them those questions and spending quality time together. I believe in you. The report card is not what we thought it was going to be, but that's okay. We can work together to put the tutoring in place. Spending time on YouTube, Khan Academy. There are so many avenues with technology that we can do to strengthen those academic skills without parents having to know how to do it themselves. But speaking words of encouragement over children, believing in them, preparing them to be successful. And you do that at home by cultivating a warm, healthy, and happy household.
Wow, you said such a mouthful. I mean, I know that your daughter was very lucky to have you as a parent. So, if I'm a parent and I didn't grow up in a loving environment, I come from a very traumatic home. I come from a home where my mom and father, they spoke negative words over me. I don't have the foundation of love that's needed for my child. And I find myself just very aggressive or annoyed by my child. What type of advice or relearning, should I say, or methods of unlearning those traumatic behaviors would you give?
The first thing that I would say is to be to your children who you wish your parents were to you.
Oh, that's so good.
And I think that by my mother dying at 11, I know how I wish the relationship that I would have imagined my mom and I to have is what I wanted my daughter to have. But I think sometimes even with that, it can be a lot. It can be too much. So you have to have a balance because you don't want to be an overbearing parent to the point that you're suffocating your children, but you do want to be able to be the type of parent that they need and the type of parent that they want. At the time, you want to maintain your communication with them. You want to cultivate the environment that is safe to talk to you. Of course, they're going to be scared to talk to you about some things, and some things they may talk to their dad about or their aunt about before they approach you with it, because they're already anticipating how you're going to respond. So I can't, when I think about being 11, we didn't, when my mom died, even when my mother was alive, it wasn't like every day we are hugging saying, "Oh, I love you so much," but when I had my daughter, I wanted to be able to say, "I love you," and it wasn't a struggle for me to be able to say that. I wanted that to be a natural flow because that wasn't what I received growing up as a child. And I know my parents loved me. I was well into being an adult when my dad passed in 2014, and I could have picked up the phone as being as old as I was when he died, and whatever it was I needed, I know I would have had. But that was his love language, was to provide and to do. It wasn't necessarily to verbalize. So I think when you grow up in traumatic situations, I think that we all have an idea of how we wanted or wished our childhood could have been. And I think that those are the things that you put in place for your children. Be to them who you were, who was not for you.
That was so beautifully said. That was so beautifully said. That was something that my husband and I received when we first got married. The Lord told us to be to others what we did not have. So that was very very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. How can parents and teachers work together to create stronger community for our kids? So, how can the parents and teachers? I know you shared a wealth of information in the beginning by just even creating those avenues to meet with your parents. So, how do you feel like the parents and the teachers can work together? Because I know often you have parents coming in saying, "That's not my child. My child didn't do that," or maybe fussing at the child when they get home, saying, "I believe the teacher. I know you." How can they work together to create a stronger community?
I think that they first need to have realistic goals and expectations. And I think that the foundation of any relationship is trust. And when that trust is eroded, it is very hard to recapture that. And I think that as parents, we think that our children are little angels. We may want them to be. We may want them to be that angel, but we have to teach them to display angelic behavior. And the way that they act at home may not be the way that they act at school. And the way that they act at school may not be the way that they act at home. Sometimes as parents, we grow up and, and it's like what happens in this house stays in this house. Well, sometimes what happens in that house needs to be communicated to other people so that the people that spend a lot of hours with your children understand the issues that you are having at home and not keeping those things a secret. Tell the school when there's a problem at home, when there's an issue, when there is a change, when there's a traumatic change. There has been a divorce, there has been a death, there has been a loss in job. Those are the things that sometimes we're embarrassed about, but those are the very things that we need to talk about with the school so they can provide the resources and connect you to the people that can really help the child. It may be we're going to spend more time with him during transition. When he comes in for lunch, I'm going to make sure I sit with him today. Just give them some type of signal to let them know, hey, I got my eyes on you. We're good. We're straight. Coming up, building those relationships. But I think the first thing that parents can really do is to listen authentically without being offended. Every time there's a problem with your child at school, you don't go in and always have to be in combat mode. Come in with a sense of humility, saying, okay, help me understand what happened, because that is so untypical. This is not the typical behavior that I would see from her. This is not something that I've ever seen her do at school, at home. So it's not about the teacher is coming in trying to go hard at you. The teacher is really trying to take command of the classroom. When you have a classroom of 28, 30, 35 kids, your little angel, although you think it's not much, it's a lot when you have so many people doing the same type of things and you're trying to provide an academic environment. So my first tip for parents is to not go in thinking that the school is wrong. Don't do that. Go in seeking information. And in order to get the information, you have to go in and ask the right questions. You have to have the right tone. You cannot go in like this getting ready to be, we got to call the police. It's just sad when a school has to call the police on a parent. It's just sad, but it is a school environment. You cannot run up in the school, acting like this is something that happens in the streets. We just cannot do that. The school is to be a wraparound service for, honestly, the community. We're providing resources for children. We are connecting you with outside agencies for issues that may be going on in the home. That's a wraparound service. It's not just about the academics. What are you learning? It really is. How are you feeling? Are you eating? What do you need? I have been the teacher and the parent. When we're thinking about holiday breaks, you worry more about the children while we are out of school than you do when they're in school. Kids are going to be out of school for 2 weeks. You got to pack lunches. You got to, provide food for the family to eat. They come back. We got to wash clothes. And, we can't send you to school, send you to class looking and smelling like this. We do hair. I have gone to pick up kids from daycare. I mean, the things that people who really care about kids do for children that we never even talk about. So when there is an issue going on at school, I can assure you most, and I do say most, I did not say all, I said most people will be willing to go bend over backwards to help children when there's a genuine, authentic concern for them.
That is so beautiful. And like you said, that just shows the genuine passion of being really called to this work. So I wonder why the money just don't add up. I think there'd be so many more people that would be willing to be a teacher, right? It's just, how do we bring awareness? Like, who do we need to call? Donald Trump, Joe Biden before you leave? Like, who do we need to call to make this money add up?
Well, I think you have to understand the history of education. The history of education was that the teachers back in the day when education first started, a long, long, long time ago, these were not full-time jobs. These were wives, these were homemakers that were taking control of educating kids, and they may have come together to form schools. Then you may have had a male that would be the principal of the school. So when you're thinking about most of the, even today, most of the people that are in that are educators, overwhelmingly will be, do you think they will be male or female? So when you see it as though, when it is, you have a lot of people, we meet people every day that will say, I have always wanted to be a teacher, but I cannot survive on the salary. And that is completely legitimate. We have now, because we do have such a dire need for certified teachers, we're coming up with all different type of alternative certification programs. If you have a degree, we'll put you in training. And some people are retiring and they are coming to teach because they always wanted to be a teacher. And this was what I always wanted to do. I just could not afford it. I think that the salary movement is beginning to take shape. I think that sometimes, because we just are so accustomed to having certain type jobs, is when those jobs, really, think about during COVID. Think about how people really realize how hard it is for teaching, because they were having to teach at home because we were shut down during COVID. So I think a lot of awareness came out of that. But out of COVID, we also got a great appreciation for service workers. So I think sometimes that because those positions are just always there, you really don't really truly understand the magnitude and the value of those positions until you are put in those. I will challenge every person on this call, every parent, to go and volunteer in a school. Not for a few hours, the whole day. Stay there the whole day. Be brave and do a whole week. When I used to have kids in an elementary environment acting up, guess what you get to do? You're gonna come follow your child all day. Come follow. You go to every class that they're going to, and you're gonna sit here and you're gonna see this behavior. But more outside of that too, if you know they're having an issue at a particular time, I want you. Oh, they normally are going. They've been cutting up every day around this time. I want you to come see it for yourself, since you don't want to believe it. Come see it yourself. So education really is a partnership. You are partnering with other people to raise your child. When you think about it, teachers and principals spend more time with children than parents do.
Absolutely.
You need to have a relationship, and a good one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so true. You said something. You said that you challenge everyone to spend a week or a day in a school. So I had the opportunity when I lived in Mississippi to be a substitute teacher. I was going through a job transition, and what I saw was so disheartening, because what I saw was that in these schools there were 7 classes, and 4 of those teachers or greater were subs.
Mm.
And the students did not come to school to learn, and that was what they told me. Because I started giving them homework. I didn't have a lesson plan. I didn't have a curriculum. I didn't have homework that was left by the teacher, because in this particular situation, the teacher, she injured herself and she was on an extended leave. But it wasn't just her. It was, like I said, about 4 of the classes where these students go to out throughout the day, where they did not have a permanent teacher, and there were multiple subs in that child's school day. And this wasn't just one week. I was there a little bit over 2 months, and I just felt like the system was setting these students up for failure, because I felt like these students, because they do not value education, and I do want to talk about the value of education before we end, but the students were set up for failure because they did not have consistency in front of them. So have you saw where a district, and maybe this was just Mississippi, because they try to keep, I feel like, Mississippi in a oppressed state. Have you saw where substitutes were more of the majority?
I've worked in Mississippi for 4 years, and I had a ball. when I was in Mississippi. So I tell people all the time, some of the best professional development that I received was in the state of Mississippi.
That's good.
Unfortunately, Miracle, we do not have a lot of certified teachers, and teachers are leaving the field, just as fast as we can replace them. But I won't necessarily say that the district is setting the kids up for failure, because the failure of a school is not just a district environment. The failure of a school is a systemic problem. You have to look at the entire community, because it's not just that principal, it's not just those set of teachers. School is a wraparound service. School is a vital part of every community. And when it's that is not an isolated incident. We know that we're going to need substitute teachers, because teachers become ill. Teachers have children. You have deaths that you have to contend with. It's just the nature of what it is. But when you are having to fill a classroom with someone that is not a certified teacher, is it really fair for us to think that they're prepared to teach children? That's not even fair for us to think that they can do that. But as an educator, it is fair for me to say that a teacher should leave substitute plans in place when they are going to be out. And with technology, and a lot of schools and districts are one-to-one, meaning every kid has a device for them. There are a lot of things that we can do to fill that time, to plug those holes, but it's not a perfect situation. Hats off to all teachers and all principals that make the best of the resources, the capital resources, meaning humans, that they have to make it work. I've seen principals that are taking their best teachers, and then they're flipping the subs back and forth so that the students are getting some quality instruction. It's a shuffle. It really is a shuffle. But it's not just with the teachers, it's also with our bus drivers. We also have a number of seasoned principals and leaders and superintendents that are retiring. And when we don't have a pipeline ready for people to move into those positions, you create an avenue, you create a hole that it's not going to be filled, and it's definitely not going to be perfect. So you have to make the most of the resources that you have. You make sure that when I was a principal, I'm a district leader in other positions, that's a part of your opening procedures. Everybody is turning in sub plans, not for one day, 5 days. I need sub plans for 5 days. So in the event that you are out, that teaching and learning can continue in some form or some fashion. It's not a perfect play, but it's the best play. We're having to do the best thing. And sometimes it's not the ideal thing, but it does get to be the best thing. However, just because we're having those gaps with not having certified teachers in every classroom, the state does not care about that when it comes to accountability and it comes to our state test scores. Those scores are not going to be released, and we get an asterisk by Germany High School because only 35% of her teachers were certified. That doesn't wash. That dog does not hunt when it comes down to accountability. So I see those are the type challenges that energize me, that's going to cause me to strategize. Let's find a solution. What can we do? And that's why you're seeing a lot of districts now, a lot of different states putting in these alternative certification programs, so we can take people that have a college degree and we can teach them the content. We can teach them how to teach the pedagogy of presenting instructional content to children. You have so many things that are popping up now. If there was any time for anyone who always wanted to be a teacher to become a teacher, it is now. There's so many ways to do it.
That's beautiful. So do I have to take the praxis if I have a college degree and I want to become a teacher? Do I have to take the praxis 1 and 2 and
you do? You still are going to have to take your certification test, but those tests will not stop you from teaching in the classroom. But you do have to pass the certification test to become a licensed teacher. But with those programs, you don't have to pass those tests year 1, year 2. You need to check the certification opportunities in your local state and district, and you need to come on over to the education field. We need good teachers.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's beautiful. I hope someone that's listening today that's desiring to become a teacher, they check with their state and districts on how to transition over. And
Yeah,
we'll have your contact information if someone has any questions for you for towards the end of the broadcast.
absolutely.
So let's talk about change. I want to ask you, how do you stay adaptable when life throws you unexpected challenges your way? I know you talked about having to constantly change with your husband being a coach. So how do you stay adaptable? Like, how do you continue on and make the best out of the situation?
I think that growing up, having to deal with the loss of a parent, the loss of your home, you don't have anywhere to live, those type things, that kind of just gets you to flex that little muscle a little bit. But being an educator, it's change every day. Nothing is different. Every day is presents itself in an entirely new way, which is one of the things that I really love about being an educator. It is never boring. I can assure you that. It is constantly. But I'm the type, I don't want to do the same thing all day every day. If it's the
Mhm.
same, I'm bored. I don't want to do that anymore. It has lost its excitement. I want something else. I want something different. But I'm also the one that's not afraid to change. If it's not working, I don't want to keep doing the same thing because I'm wasting my time. I don't want to do that. I want to look at where I am. I'm very goal oriented. I have already done all of my plan for the 2025 by the quarter, by the month, by the week. So I'm a planner
Mhm.
by nature because that's the way that my brain works. I'm very organized. I want to be very efficient. I do not want to waste my time because I have so many things during the day that I have to do. I work a full time job, but I'm also an adjunct professor too. So I have classes that I have to teach. I have a lot going on. So I maximize my time. And if something is not working for me, I'm going to think about it first. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it. Okay, what do I want to see differently? I'm going to put a little timeline in place. Okay, I'm going to give this so many weeks, to try this. And then I'm going to go back and examine my results. But I used to tell my team all the time, you really have to be you have to be a chameleon. You have to be able to adapt. You have to be a reptile. You have to be able to adapt in any situation, but you do not lose yourself. You do not shrink. You do not lose your value, but you adapt to the situation. You hear people say all the time, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Now, I don't agree with that because I'm always going to do what Kim needs to do because I'm never going to lose myself and I'm never going to do anything out of it, lack of integrity. I'm going to always have high, strong character and integrity. Integrity. That is just who I am. But you have to be able to make change because with change gets to be on the other side the result that you want. So you cannot be afraid to do that. You just have to do it scared. And it sounds so easy, but I know it's hard. I have lived it. But with the change, you have to do it. You cannot be afraid of it. If you want to see something different, you have to do something different to get what you want to see. If nothing changes, nothing changes.
I love it. I love it. So powerful. So powerful. You have to do something different. I'm really impressed with this goal writing through the end of the year.
Yeah.
Wow. That is impressive. That is very impressive. So let me ask you this because I know that you're a woman of resilience as well. So, what role does faith play in building resilience?
I'm a born again believer.
Amen.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And I'm
Absolutely.
so happy that He has changed and transformed my life. So
Amen.
my faith shapes everything that I do. I am not a Bible thumping person. I'm not going into an environment doing that because when you go into the environment is automatically going to shift for you because you command it to. You take authority of it. And I think that the faith, had it not been for faith for me, some of the things that I have dealt with I know that I would have crumbled. But when you have a different mindset, a different way of thinking, you see things differently. It has to be about what you are called to do. Because if not, I would have folded a long time ago, and especially in various situations. Like, okay, no, I give up. I'm done. I'm gonna try something else next.
Amen.
What else? I don't
Amen.
want to do this one. But I think that the faith piece, it lets you know it's not about you. It's about
Mhm.
the people that are attached to you. So if you are never in position, the people that are assigned to you, they never are in position either, because you never would step up. You never would step on. And
That's
even
good.
this basically is really something that I would normally do. I can talk shop, I can talk education in an educational environment all day long. But to talk on this platform is something so totally out of my norm. But nothing changes if nothing changes. So I
Amen.
see it as it's not about me. It's about what I'm supposed to do. And when you know that you have something that you are supposed to do, then that's what you do. And you do it in excellence, and you do it every day. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to get done.
That is so good. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to get done. That's why we're sitting here today, Dr. Kim. It doesn't have to be
Do it.
perfect, but it does have to
It
get
does
done.
have to get done.
I love it. I love it because, going live or even starting this broadcast, I know it was something just in my spirit that the Lord gave me, like I said, over 14 years ago. And, just the fear of wanting everything to be perfect or just wanting everything to be set up a certain way, want to make sure I'm looking a certain way, want to lose weight. Every excuse I can
Yes,
come up with, I came up with.
yes.
But, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to get
It
done.
doesn't have to be perfect. And
It's not about me. It's
it's
not
not
about me.
about a
It's about the
project.
parents today that's watching this broadcast
Yes.
that's gonna receive insight on how to take care of their children or engage their children in the educational platform
Yes, yeah,
piece.
because when you're lost in perfectionist, and I
Mhm.
am a recovering perfectionist and overthinker.
Amen.
When you're lost in it, that's the whole point. That's the trick of it, is to be lost in it. So it's never executed. So you keep thinking it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I need to change this. It's not ready yet. And the more you delay, the less you're going to do it, because you've been spinning your wheels on it for so long. You're going to feel like, no, it's not ready yet. That just happened to me this week. Just this week, going through the final revisions and edits of this book. I had to start the editing process all the way over this summer. So I was like, oh my goodness. So it was a setback, but it worked in my favor. But it was a
Amen.
setback. But just this week, going through, okay, I'm gonna change this, I'm gonna change that. And I had one of my friends, and she said, no, it's ready. What are
Mm.
you doing? It's ready. I'm like, you are so right. It's ready. But that gets to be the trick. See, that's the trick. It's going to come in for you to always second guess. But when you step out and do it, the more you continue to step out, the easier and the easier and the easier that it will become. And that's the resilience piece. Standing up when you've been punched. You keep getting punched, but that punch keeps getting lighter and lighter, because you're stronger and you're stronger. And then before that swing even comes, you already kicking it back like, I already know. No.
Amen. Amen. I can't wait to go back and watch the replay of this because you're dropping so many encouraging nuggets. So many encouraging nuggets for sure. Because even your friends though, like I have to salute you on having the right people in your circle because it sounds like it's been the right people in your circle that has pushed you or have given you um just a piece of encouragement that you needed in the right moments.
Yeah. And it's also been pruning. It hasn't been all roses. It's been some
Mhm.
thorns too. Because when you're getting ready to change, everything around you changes. When you're asking for a change and you know things are going to be different, you got to be willing for things to be different. And some people are not going to be at the next step with you, but it's all good, because what they were supposed to do to contribute in your life for that season, they did. You accept that. You love that. You remember that, you take those lessons, and you move on.
Wow. Love that. Accept that. Remember that. Take those lessons and move on. Wow. What a gift. What a gift. Wow. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So, what advice would you give to someone that's looking to grow, which I'm sure you've already hit on this, but just want to narrow in on this particular subject? What advice would you give to someone that feels stuck? They're looking to grow, but they feel like they're stuck.
I think that you need to identify the reason that you think you're stuck, because
Mm,
it's the way that you're thinking. It's your mindset. It's what you know you need to let go of that you won't. It's the change that you know you need to make that you're scared to make. That's why you're stuck, because you know what to do. You're not ready to do it. But when you're ready to do it, you will. And everybody will know, because you will not be talked out of it. Whatever the obstacles are won't even matter. You're going to act on it and you're going to move on it. So you're really not stuck. It's a mindset. You think you are. You already have the answer. Speak it and do it.
it's a mindset. It is a mindset. That's it. It's mindset.
Mhm.
That's
It's
good, Dr. Kim. That is so good. That is so good. Let's see here. So healing trauma, that's something that you've overcome, and even now, I'm sure that life throws its challenges at you. What are some of the steps that it took you to really just say, okay, I'm gonna do this? Because losing your mom at 11, I
Oh,
cannot imagine how traumatic that was. And I'm sure, like I said, there's been some other stones thrown your way. So,
yeah.
what were some of the steps that it took you to navigate through those seasons of trauma?
I think the first thing was being giving yourself permission to feel it,
Mm,
and to not avoid it, not try to be so busy so that you won't deal with it, but to sit in it, to sit in it. And I did that as a kid, not knowing that that was what I was doing. But I also did it when we experienced some other deaths too. When my dad died, when my niece died, you sit in it. You don't run from it. And however long it takes for you to sit in it, you sit right there and it's okay. Because grief is in waves. Traumatic experiences, although you grow out of them, you still remember those things, but you don't allow those experiences to wreck you like they used to do. I
mm,
remember when my dad died, and I knew that he would want me to get up and go back to work. And I did. And I used to talk to my dad a lot on my way to work. So, I'm driving to work, I'm just crying and crying. And when I get to work, I'm having my makeup in the car, right? So I'm reapplying my makeup. And I'm at work, and I know that I cannot handle being on the hallways with my kids, my students, because I knew that they were going to want to hug me. And I got to hold it together. So I would make sure I was back in my office. But going through the motion of taking the first step back at work, the
mm,
second day back at work, the third day back at work, and I had my meltdowns in my bathroom, get myself together, and I go back to work. My dad died during my dissertation process. I was supposed to defend. I was getting ready. These was the final stages, and my dad died that February. And my dissertation chair said, "Kim, we're gonna wait. Let's just wait." I said, "No, no, 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 no. Let's go. We're gonna finish this." And I did. But that's the resilience. But I also needed that period of busyness. But I that was a delay in dealing with the feelings that I was trying to avoid. But, God has allowed the trauma to become my testimony. And
amen.
because I have experienced those things, I know what it means as a child to need school more than school ever needed me. For me to need my teachers beyond me even being able to convey to them that I need them. And I was able to be that teacher. I was able to be that leader in a school as a principal and a district leader, putting things in place for children that needed those extra things so that they can survive. So I was able to take what I experienced as a kid, even as an adult, and put those pieces in place, not just for students, but for parents as well. I have counseled parents. I have had to tell parents that their children were pregnant. I have had to tell students that their parents were getting a divorce. We all sitting there together, going through these experiences. I have had to stand and hold kids because we've had one of our students that passed away. You just have to be able to stand, but you're not able to stand and be what other people need you to do and be if you hadn't had to do it for yourself. So a lot of the things that we experience, those are hard situations, but you take those hard situations and you make it so other people don't have to go through that hard of a situation. You know what it is. You know how they're feeling. You know what to expect. So that's just that part of being taking the trauma to be a testimony. But you take the time, you have to be self-aware. When bad things happen, we like to lash out. We lose our temper. We act in anger. That's being self-aware. We don't spill over on people because of the way that we're feeling. We learn how to communicate those feelings in the right type of tone and voice. I think now if I could go back, I'm going to be a great grandmother whenever my daughter gets married and has children.
Amen.
Because I'm going to be great for that. Because when you think about when you're raising kids and you're moving over here, you leaving school, I got to go to dance practice, from dance we got to go to this, you just busy, then that agitation piece spills over. So that's the piece that as parents, that's what we don't want to do, is to always spill over, always thinking that we have to go and buy the next thing. That buying the next thing is not giving the child what they really want and desire. And that is their love, affection, and attention from their parent.
Wow. I think of myself as a child as I hear you talk. And I think about just some of the things that I wanted to run from as a child. Um, and unfortunately, I didn't have great teachers like yourself that would give me what I was missing. But it was the school environment. It was the kids. It was my peers. It was just being able to be a cheerleader or play volleyball or just really get out of the home piece. So, as a little girl, or someone who has lost their mother, I think about my sister. Her mother died when she was 3 months. This is my father's daughter. And even in my life, my biological mother, she had to leave the home and go to Arkansas. I grew up in Illinois. And my grandmother raised me, but she worked 3 jobs, so she wasn't able to be as present, I'm sure, as she would have wanted to be. So what advice do you give to that little girl that's at home and she's pretty much alone, or she's getting everything she need from, because God is faithful, right? And He does send people to pour into us and give us things that we're missing. But for those that aren't as fortunate to maybe go to church or have people to pour into them, is there anything that you would give them, any type of advice or a tool?
I would tell them, find what you are passionate about and learn all about it.
Mm,
Because if you are dealing with something that you really enjoy, then you enjoy it. So when I'm reading about it, when I'm doing it, I enjoy that. So that gets to be some happiness and some fulfillment. But that's also the power of community. Because as in a community, in a network, a school is a community. So
mhm,
even though this she may not be my student, I
mhm,
still will be able to pour into her. And that's why education is so transformative. One of my former students, her daughter is my goddaughter. And she has been a part of our lives since she was 3 weeks old,
Wow.
spending time with us, vacations with us. She, in fact, calls me mama.
I love
And
it.
that is my baby. I love me some her, but that's also the power of community that happened in the school environment. And that's why it's so important that we get the right people working in our schools, and they don't have to be an educator. It
Mm.
could be the cafeteria worker. It could be the secretary. It could be the bus driver. Helping children is a all hands on approach, because it's those positions, the bus driver, you're setting the stage by the way they act or what you allow on your bus while they're coming to school. The
Mhm.
cafeteria, you're giving them that food that they may not have gotten at home, providing those service. It's the smile. I'm checking on you today. You didn't come to school yesterday. What was up with that? It's those little things that say, hey, you matter to me. You are important to me.
That is so beautiful. So key, so needed. It's so needed, and it's really, like you said, transformative behavior, not just from the home, but it's
Mhm.
from everybody that's involved.
Yeah.
Transformative actions, love, very very good. So let's see here. I think I've asked you a wide range of questions. Is there anything that you would like to leave with the audience? Is there anything about your book? How can people purchase your book? When is the timeline on it being ready? Is there anything that you would like to leave with us today?
I would tell you that I am just a teacher at heart. I'm an educator and I'm a transformational leader. And I believe in making a difference in the lives of children. And I believe that that starts with having effective teachers and leaders in every classroom, in every building, in every district. I have a heart for it. It is something that is easy for me. It is something that is natural to me. And I lead every position that I am in as if it's not good enough for my daughter, it's not good enough for yours. And it doesn't matter about your background. It doesn't matter where you live, what's your zip code. Everybody has an equal right. It is your civil right to have access to a high quality education. And it's my goal to put that in place for you and your children. I am Dr. Kim Germany, and I'm a transformational leader. You can follow me on all social media platforms as Dr. Kim Germany. If you're interested in buying my book, I'm taking pre-orders. You better come on, take these pre-orders, right? You can go to my website. It is www.drkimgermany.com. I'm in the final stages of getting this book together, and I cannot wait to mail one to you. And it will be available on everywhere books are sold. It will be on Amazon. It will be at Barnes and Noble, but you can get it from my website as well. And I'm still taking pre-orders while we are going through the final stages.
I love it. I love it. I look forward to pre-ordering your book. I need to get on there and get my pre-order in now.
Thank you.
You've shared so much with us. I've learned so much. You've even validated what I do as a cheer director, because when I see these children, I think of me as a little girl. I think of what I needed. So when I see them, I'm giving them the hug that they may not be getting. I'm
Mhm.
giving them the smile. I'm giving them that ear. And I'm trying to give them pieces of me that I felt like I needed as a young lady. So
Absolutely.
again, thank you so much for being our guest. It was such an honor to
Thank
have you.
you.
I look forward to having you later in the future, because I know there's things about marriage that we can talk about. There's things about being a mother we can talk about. I know there's so much more that we can dig in. I know you and I, we went through a amazing process together in 2023. So
Yes.
even just some of those things that we can talk about. So I
Yeah.
look forward to having you again.
Thank
And before we leave, I want to leave our guests with the miracle moment for the week. And the miracle moment for this week, it comes from a message that I received on yesterday from my husband. I thank God for my husband. We will have him on at a later date to where he can share what the Lord has done in his life in the last 6 months. But the
Awesome.
miracle moment that I want to leave with you is he talked about how we must come to the Lord as a child. And even in the beginning of time, the Lord set it up for us to come to him and be dependent on him as a child. And we are to not take the lordship position of our lives, but we're to take the submitted position of our lives. And when we come to God as little children, depending on him to be our father, to be our Abba, to be everything that we need, to be our leader, to be our director, then that is when we experience him the way that we were intended to experience him. And that is as little children to a father.
Yes.
So I leave that with you today, that he solidified us. He positioned us to call him Abba. He has given us the ability to lean on him. And he has the ability to see what was needed before we even got here. And I love him as a father. And I know that Jesus said, except you come as one of these. He was speaking as the little children. Then you cannot come. So we ought to come knowing that he is our father and that we can depend on him. We can trust him. We can depend on him. If you're trying to get through a traumatic situation in life, if you're trying to get through over an addiction, you're going through a divorce, you're going through anything in your life where it feels empty, then we have Jesus, God the Father. We have the Holy Ghost. We have the entire Godhead that we can lean and depend on. So I leave that with our guest today as our miracle moment for this show. And I hope that you all enjoyed Dr. Germany as much as I did. I look to have you guys back at our next show. So again, thank you so much for tuning in today.
Died for me, took away my sins. I've been changed, now I'm born again. Born again. Every day I wake up with new grace.